From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning on Mornings LALATE as your fourth stimulus check update 2021 heats up today. Passed on a Saturday night, your $3.5 trillion recon passed. Cluster number one's checks in their past, cluster number two's checks in their past, and cluster number three's checks in their past. But guess what also happened last night? The recon win happened as the progressives may get a major win for protecting your recon as the roads and bridges fail to pass at all. The vote never called because the progressives blocked it with enough now down votes. But guess what's happening today? There's a second attempt underway today to start the voting again for the roads and bridges. I'll explain the details and I'll give you my predictions and all the major twists and turns that happened into the thick of last night. They were dramatics. If you missed them on this channel as I cut into Overnight's Crypto, I delivered to you all the dramatics that happened last night. First, we'll be going over all the incredible checks that are in this recon passed on a Saturday night. Checks for seniors, workers, hazard pay, checks for individuals, checks for cars, trucks, and more. Those checks are getting in there. But then we'll be cutting to the surprising details about what is happening today. As a second attempt to call the vote on the roads and bridges is happening today, I'll be going over what's happening. But for now, boy, Saturday night, your recon passed on a subcommittee of the House, $3.5 trillion. And this week, the Democratic leaders telling the viewers again, they're putting in a monthly IRS stimulus check. It's a huge win. With a huge win last night, a huge recording. I have a lot to cover, and I'm going to go over everything that unfolded last night because the toast is toast and the butter is butter, and I'm here, you're here, and this is a major recording of Mornings LALATE. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day across the planet. It is gorgeous here live with you in Santa Monica, California. And last night I was live with you in cutting into a crypto feed to give you the latest update of your 2021 stimulus check as the vote was potentially to start on the roads and bridges in the House. The vote didn't start. Today, they're attempting it again today, but I'm going to go over what the president did last night. You're not hearing it until today. I'm going to go over the incredible details as the progressives have a major win last night in protecting your recon. These are the same progressives that this week have said to you, they're putting in a monthly IRS stimulus check. $3.5 trillion recon passing on the House last Saturday night. Cluster number one's checks passed, including checks for the student and the individual. Checks number three, cluster number three passed, including checks for seniors and workers, and cluster number two's checks passed, including paid sick leave. But the incredible details is what unfolded last night. It was not important to us if the roads and bridges passed. But I said if the roads and bridges goes down in flame, it would be a major win for you and your recon, and it did. Major win for your recon last night as the roads and bridges went down in flames. I'll explain all the incredible details. And this is LALATE, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record in 1 year. There's a reason you want to watch this channel and nowhere else, because on Saturday night, a subcommittee of the House passed your recon. And no broadcast media covered the developing details. No print media covered it. No other YouTube channel even covered it. Throughout this last week, I've been going over hour after hour the excruciating changes of the battleground for the recon protected by the progressives and the roads and bridges protected by the moderates. I have incredible details in this recording as well, so subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Let's first go over each of the clusters that were passed Saturday night. Then let's go over the IRS monthly stimulus check and the breaking details as Chuck Schumer's office as well confirm it's going in there. And then we'll go over the dramatics that happened last night, and then we'll circle back to what is unfolding today as the voting will start shortly, potentially after the time of this live broadcast. Well, a $3.5 trillion recon passing in a subcommittee of the House Saturday night. Huge because cluster number 1, 2, and 3's checks got in there. It's important to remember the $3.5 trillion recon is all checks for you and has nothing to do with pandemic And it's not just for one walk of life, it's for all of you. Let's go over cluster number one, passed. Cluster number one has checks for hazard pay, seniors checks, workers checks, checks for children, $51,000 of MSCs. Then it has checks in there for college students. And then it has checks in there for vehicles, trucks, and bikes. Let's go over all the incredible details, starting with hazard pay. They got hazard pay in there. And this was a big surprise. The extension of the earned income tax credit modification, making more people eligible, and then broadening the amount of money. And this is huge. Then they got up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person. Wow. Up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. Wow. They got that in there as well. They got in there money for college students, grants to the university, grants to the students, and the Pell Grant made tax-free. Home repairs they got in there. If you're a low-income community, they got that in there as well. Incredible sums of money they got in there. But what about $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks? Oh, they got that in there as well. Passed. This is the CTC, the child tax credit, modified and expanded. First, they modify it by now making non-biological parents qualify for the money. And then how much is it? A lot. Up to $300 every month, every year, up to 18 years per child, which is $51,000. Then they got money in there for new electric trucks, bikes, and cars from the U.S. auto manufacturers. First, up to 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike. Second, up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, personal use. A little bit more for business use, and a little bit more if it's a truck for business use. Wow. That's cluster number one's checks passed. In a second, we go over cluster number two's checks passed and cluster number three's checks passed, and the inclusion of that IRS monthly stimulus check that we got confirmation as recently as yesterday. It's still going in there. Well, let's first take a detour for just a blink of an eye. As third stimulus is getting an additional cash infusion. Yes, an additional $13 billion is going out to your cities, counties, and states for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. Treasury made the statement about a month ago. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with additional resources for Americans in time of rental assistance. I'll go over how you get this money later in this video. Stay in the very final 15 minutes of this video. I got a lot coming up. It's a big recording today. Let's cut to some more checks that pass. Cluster number two's checks passed. These are huge. There's a lot of money in these 12 checks. And the first one is paid family leave, paid medical leave. Family leave, you have to stay at home because your wife is pregnant. Medical leave, you have to stay at home because your son broke his leg. How much does it pay? A lot. $1,700 if you make $70,000 or more per year under third stimulus. Split it down. Let's split it in half. $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week. Let's split it in half again. $15,000 annual salary, up to $400 a week, paid by the employer, who's refunded by the federal government. Then they got checks for child care programs, checks for household tax credits, checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing checks, and Medicare eligibility age. More about that third part of this cluster. And then they got new checks to weatherize your home. Definitely needed if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Because you don't want to let the moderate Democrats into the house. Not at all. Don't want to let those moderate Democrats in the house. Then they got checks for pre-kindergarten. Then they got checks for tuition-free community college. Absolutely wonderful. Across the globe, across the states, tuition-free community college. So you can take that very popular class called what the hell is LATE 101? It's for people who are not bilingual in Los Angeles. Now you can speak a foreign language called Los Angeles. Just say kale salad every third word. And there you go. In a second, we'll go over the third cluster of checks. But what's Congress doing? What is Congress not doing? In the middle of last night, Congress had the opportunity to call a vote on the roads and bridges. But that vote did not occur. What happened? Well, going into the final hours of the night, Speaker Pelosi had two options. Call the vote on the roads and bridges and watch it go down in flames. Or don't call the vote on the roads and bridges and just make it look like it's still an evolving situation. And she did. She opted for the second one. After many thought that the vote would happen at 9 o'clock, it didn't. Thought that it was going to happen at 10 o'clock, it didn't. This is a major win for the progressives because guess what? We didn't care if the roads and bridges pass. It doesn't impact our recon whatsoever. But if the roads and bridges goes down in flames by either not passing or not going for a vote, it would be a major win for your recon, protected by the progressives, because the progressives had endured everything to protect that recon. And there you go. I'll have all the incredible details of what unfolded last night, what the president did, what the moderate Democrats did, what Jalopal did last night, and what they're doing today. It's coming up in just a second. But let's cut to the third cluster of checks. They got them in there. Passed Saturday night. Free school meals for all, checks. Then they got cheaper prescription medication, checks. Checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy. Then checks for workers like independent contractors, and checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing checks as well. Two of the checks in the third cluster I particularly like, and so is the president, because they're instant savings to you. The first one is cheaper prescription medication. Let's say you have to go to the pharmacy today to take a pill because the moderate Democrats are giving you a headache. You're not alone. You'll have to take out two $20 bills from your wallet to pay for it. When this becomes law, when you have to go back to refill the prescription, then you may only have to take out one $20 bill. Then they're going to make free internet available across all your cities and county states, red, blue, and purple. What are you going to do? You'll have to only say to the city what they ask what the username and password is. When you ask what the username is, they'll say it's drilling 101. And when you ask for what the password is, it's called Goth Gang Go Away. There you go. Later in this video, we'll go over all the dramatics of unfolded last night, what's unfolding today. But first, let's cut to your monthly IRS stimulus check. Wow. This week, the same progressive Democrats who had told over 1,000 viewers of this channel over the last 8 weeks after they advocated that there will be a monthly stimulus check provision in there, confirmed the same again. Bernie Sanders' office confirmed the same details to an advocate of this channel this week as well. AOC Jalopal Omar's office confirmed the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check again this week after the passage last Saturday. And who also confirmed it? Bernie Sanders' office to Donnie's wife. What's important to remember is that on Saturday, when the House Budget Subcommittee passed the recon $3.5 trillion, they specifically were followed up by a statement from Pelosi and the president. The statement is that you should not look at that as a bill, because it's not a bill. Sort of look at it as a work in progress. I call it sort of like an envelope. Bill envelope. If you want to add other stuff in there, Pelosi said, you can add other stuff in there. In fact, I want you to tell me now what you want to add in there. So did the president. And that's why Ron Wyden, Senator, Democrat Progressive, said, I'm going to add in something there for unemployment benefits so more people get paid going forward. That's why all the statements from the 1,000 viewers of this channel who have received, gotten assurances from Democratic members after advocating for inclusion of stimulus check were told forward-reaching statements will be added, is being added, and those statements continue this week. I'll go over more about that later. But join me now as we get ready for the second half of this video, as we go over all the dramatics of what unfolded on that House floor last night. Coming up today, shortly after this live broadcast, the voting is expected to start up again for the roads and bridges. But will it actually go to a tally, or will it go down in flames again? I have all the incredible dramatics of what happened last night, what's happening today, what's happening with that inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. It's coming up in just 60 seconds as the excitement continues, as Mornings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues live from Santa Monica, California right now. I'll be going over all the dramatics and the fireworks literally that happened on the house floor late last night. If you did not join me as I broke into Overnight's crypto last night, you're going to get some of those details, but even more with a big shocker that came in from one news report about what the president did last night. Oh boy, is it fascinating. Then we'll be cutting to what's happening today for the vote for the roads and bridges and the protecting of your recon. We'll be cutting back over to those IRS monthly stimulus check and what the House and Senate members are vowing to do to include it. We'll be cutting over to fifth stimulus if we have a little bit of time, and also a recap of what happened with the third stimulus as well. And with that, I'm excited for you to join me, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Hit that subscribe button right now. You know, there's no place, no broadcast channel that is recording 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All the nuances, all the meetings, all the negotiations, by the hour, and also has beautiful sound effects in the background. So I want you to subscribe. Also, like the video and consider becoming a member. Let's go into all the dramatics as the moderate Democrats went in the basement last night. That's them below me. The excitement unfolded yesterday as Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders said to the progressives, vote it down. Going into the events of last night, the Senate progressives were telling the House progressives, vote the roads and bridges down. What was going on? What was going on was a vote last night anticipated for your roads and bridges. The vote for the roads and bridges, we did not have a firm time as to when it was to start. We thought it would have been at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the voting had not started. So what did Jalapal and staff do? Jalapal, who's chair of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, called a special meeting. During that meeting, the progressive members said, you know what? We are going to vote it down. And the progressives going into that 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zoom meeting assured one another that the voting down of the roads and bridges would happen. The progressives had more ammunition to vote down the roads and bridges as of 9 p.m. last night because in the hours going into those final minutes, the progressives were being name-called consistently by the moderate Democrats. They were being called as a fringe, as small in number, and then 9 o'clock p.m. came and the vote did not start. The reason why the vote did not start, by all accounts, is that the vote would fail. On the House side, Pelosi has a margin of 3 Democrats to pass any type of recon. With only 3 Democrats to lose, she was setting herself up to lose 60 of them. There were 60 progressives saying, we're voting down the roads and bridges last night. And Pelosi did not call the vote at 9 o'clock. With Jalapal having already told her caucus and gotten assurances from the caucus that at least 60 of them were voting down the roads and bridges, and Pelosi not calling the vote, what happened next? A very strange series of events then unfolded. As the president dispatched his cabinet members or staff members to go to the vice president's chambers in the Senate. Those included Brian Deasy, who I featured a lot on the Sirloin shows. Yeah, that's that Yale guy that I always say leans on the wall. He was there, and 2 other members. Then they moved into Chuck Schumer's office, Leader Schumer of the Senate. What happened? Out of nowhere, the president called a meeting with Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, who negotiated the $3.5 trillion recon from $7 trillion down to $3.5 trillion, and these White House members, and Kristen Sinema. What happened? It was basically an attempt by the White House to get the progressives to back off on voting down the roads and bridges by getting to potentially some verbal agreement about the recon other than how it is currently. Bernie Sanders came out of that meeting and blew it up for obvious reasons. First, he said it's an absurd way to do business. He didn't mention the president by name, but clearly if you follow this channel, that's who he was referring to. He says an absurd way to do business at the 11th hour to tell me to call off a down vote on the roads and bridges because you're informally going to say something else about the recon, which I can never keep you to keep to a promise. And of course, nothing was reached. I'll go over a little bit more in a second what more also happened in that meeting. Right after that, Jalopal came out because, again, she's a progressive like Bernie Sanders. And Jalopal said to her progressive caucus, you know what? The moderate Democrats, we're not going to rely upon them verbally saying something about the recon. We're going to vote down the roads and bridges still, because a verbal framework or a vague statement about the recon is not going to hold weight among the progressives. What's ironic is that Jalopal had a lot of ammunition to say in that. Number one, the progressives had seen in the last 2 weeks, the moderate Democrats not keep their promise. The moderate Democrats didn't keep their promise about the debt ceiling limit. The moderate Democrats did not keep their promise about keeping the roads and bridges and the recon together for the same vote. And the moderate Democrats consistently weren't keeping their promises. So Jalopal had every right to say to her Democratic Progressive Caucus last night, we are not going to change our down vote on the roads and bridges based upon some sort of vague verbal assurance from the moderate Democrats that maybe they'll do something. And that then changed the whole dynamic of the night. By 10 o'clock, Pelosi sent out a letter, and you saw it if you're a member of this channel. I delivered to you. The letter said, thank you for your time and effort tonight, and we will continue to work on this. We all looked at the letter and sounded like, okay, we can go home. We can call victory because the progressives won. But then Pelosi came back and said, I'm not telling you to go home. Now, understand the only person who tells you to go home is Steny Hoyer. He's the guy who determines the time and the vote and the dates. He's the administrator of the House. And shortly thereafter, he said, you can go home. He said that voting will resume today on the roads and bridges, even though the voting never started, that the voting may start today. Now, here's what you need to know, is that last night was a major win for your recon and the progressives. The progressives are protecting your recon. And I told you yesterday that if the roads and bridges passes, it doesn't hurt your recon. But if the roads and bridges goes down in flames, it really helps your recon a lot. First, because it shows that the people protecting your recon are in control, that there's enough of them to call the shots, and that the moderate Democrats are not in control. Even a conservative publication today said, big win last night for the progressives and your recon. It's huge. It was a huge event. It could have asserted itself in two ways. Pelosi could have called the vote and shown a loss of the recon, a no passage. Or she could have done what she did, which is not call the vote, and that anyone who was watching the event understood the reason why you didn't call the vote, Pelosi, is because it was going to fail, because there was enough progressive to call against it. So what will happen today? Will it pass again? Or will it go for a vote again? Or will it not go for a vote? And if it does go for a vote, will it lose? By all indication, at the time of this live broadcast, the situation is better for your recon than even yesterday. Even last night, it's better, the situation, to protect the recon, and even a better situation to vote down the roads and bridges. Why? Because the progressives were very badly name-called by the moderate Democrats all yesterday. Even the Goth gang, with Representative Gothenheimer, yesterday saying he was 1,000% positive the roads and bridges would pass last night. He was wrong. All yesterday, the progressives were the victims of name-calling by the moderate Democrats left all over the place. And so they were becoming more entrenched to make sure they absolutely do not pass the roads and bridges. But then there's a strange article that came out today. Let me make very clear to you what it is so you are prepared for this thought process. The article is not on the record. There's no direct quote. There's no confirmation. I don't see this article anywhere else, and it's in a conservative publication. The article claims that during that meeting that Bernie Sanders called absurd last night, where Brian Deasy and the cabinet members were in there, allegedly the president was trying to get Bernie Sanders and Kristen Sinema to take the recon from $3.5 trillion to $2 trillion. We don't know if that's really the case, but I got to tell you, the president made a series of bad missteps yesterday. Telling Bernie Sanders to somehow back off on voting down roads and bridges at the 11th hour, not a good look. Telling the progressives not to vote down the roads and bridges, not a good look. Telling the progressives to sort of not do what they're doing to protect your recon based upon potential verbal statements from the moderate Democrats who hadn't kept their promise about the debt ceiling limit, hadn't kept their promise about when the roads and bridges and the recon go together, not keeping their promise, that telling people to sort of rely on people that have not been trustworthy in their statements. Not a good look for the president. He made some strategic bad decisions on the situation last night. Bottom line is, big win for you. So will it be another big win today? I'll go over the latest details of what I anticipate later today. But first, let's cut to, of course, that monthly IRS stimulus check. It's incredibly great news because all this week, since Monday to Friday, there has been some great sound effects. But along with the great sound effects since Monday to Friday, we have had Democratic progressive one after another reconfirming the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. Yesterday, Chuck Schumer's office confirming yes again the inclusion of a monthly IRS stimulus check to Donnie's wife. Bernie Sanders' office, Liz Warren's office, AOC Jalopal, and Omar's office again this week confirming the inclusion of a monthly IRS stimulus check. Let's go over how we got here, starting no less than 8 weeks ago. 8 weeks ago, I told viewers the importance of advocating for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. And WR did. He picked up the phone and called Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's oldest confidant, advocated for the inclusion of a stimulus check. And Senator Chris Coons said, yes, I'm inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check. Then 3 weeks ago, this channel really took off because of a lot of things happening. I told viewers a lot of exclusives. For example, told you the House would be writing up the recon. I was right. I told you the House would vote first on the recon. I was right. I was telling you that Bernie Sanders is critical of the equation because he got the $3.5 trillion price tag. He asked for 7, he got to 3.5. Well, what happened 3 weeks ago? Bernie Sanders said a critical quote. He said, unlike prior budget chairman of the Senate, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm doing a budget bill. I said, if you listen to that carefully, he's trying to hear your input. He wants you to advocate to him. And Brother Joshua did, Lynn Glenn did, and Margaret did after I told viewers to advocate to Bernie Sanders' office. All three different were told that day after advocating the inclusion of a stimulus check monthly. Now let's go over what advocacy looks like so you understand what advocating for a stimulus check looks like. It took a beautiful form, an incredible form from viewers in the last few days. These are screen grabs from either the live chat of the show or from private messages on social media. Margaret writes, honestly, I and the woman on the phone start crying when I explain everything I've been through. Another viewer writes, I lost my husband. How am I supposed to have 10 surgeries since his passing? How am I supposed to raise 2 teenage daughters with this hardship? How am I supposed to have SSDI, which is not enough? That's the face of advocacy. And that is what Brother Joshua did for you. He's a 2020 volunteer to the community page, longtime viewer and Purple Hawk. He picked up the phone and advocated for the inclusion of a stimulus check for himself, his family, his church, and you. And Sanders' office 3 weeks ago said, yes, it's going in there. $1,300 to $1,000 for 3 to 6 months. But Sanders' office made it clear that he needs to hear you advocating. This week, Sanders' office confirming once again the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check to viewers of this channel. But Donnie's wife, you met earlier in this video, who got Schumer to confirm the same as well, Donnie himself, let's go over, had the incredible spirit to pick up the phone and advocate when I said to advocate after Brother Joshua. After Brother Joshua's statement, Donnie picked up the phone, and this is what Donnie wrote. I called Bernie Sanders' office. The secretary said they're doing a forced stimulus check, and this is why I said I need it. My city needs it. I need it to progress. I need it for my water and everything. I told her, and she said, okay, we are getting a fourth. Hurricane Tina called up Bernie Sanders' office, and she writes the following. I called Bernie's office, got through, and they did say they're putting a forced stimulus check. Advocacy continued across the board as Carolyn picked up the phone. And what does Carolyn write? Karen writes, I called Bernie Sanders' office and talked to the secretary, told her what we needed. I need help out here. People losing their homes and what they got. She agreed, and Bernie's putting a forced stimulus check in there. And then Yaya advocated to Ron Wyden. She writes, I called Ron Wyden, and staffer says there will be SS200 in there as promised. By that, we had a lot of people showing us the face of advocacy really impressively. But the face of advocacy took another level when Will showed us you just don't call one place, you call 3 places. And this is what Will wrote. Will wrote, I called Bernie's office, I called Warren and Schumer's office, and all 3 of their secretaries confirmed the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. Later he says, They said that Senator Warren is including a monthly stimulus check, $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Larica writes, I got on the phone with Bob Casey's office, and they said yes, they're in negotiations for the amount of the stimulus check. By that point, we had senators telling viewers, 1,000 viewers this channel, they're inserting the monthly stimulus check. Those senators who made those representations of viewers over and over and over again were Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden. But then I said, pick up the phone and advocate among the House members. AOC, Jalapal, Omar, I said, pick up the phone and advocate. And viewers started advocating. And here were the results. AOC, Paul getting on the phone with AOC's office. She wants them to be $2,000 a month after the first month, $1,000. She assured me they're in the bill. Janice getting on the phone, Jayalapal's office, and writing, I called Jayalapal. They also said they're doing a forced stimulus check in there. Omar's office confirming the same to Janice as well. Mark calling up Pelosi's office and writing, the staff told me there would be a forced stimulus check in there, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, 6 to 12 months, and she said they're now almost done negotiating it. Comments and advocacy came in more. Ida writes, I got off the phone with Omar. They're putting it in there. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Lynn Glenn called Joe Paul's office. Secretary said, yes, they're giving us a monthly stimulus check. That's the face of advocacy. That's what advocacy gets you. And that's what advocacy will continue to get you. What's great news about this is that this is consistent with the way the recon is being done. Pelosi and the president last Saturday and all this week said, you know what, the recon is not a piece of paper. It's sort of like a work in progress. If you want to add stuff in there, you can, just like the envelope prop I show on camera. And that's consistent with the 1,000 messages of you as this channel from those Democratic leaders. They all use future tense verbs, will be, going to, adding, is going to add an amendment, going to, will be. And that's what the progressives and the House and the Senate have vowed to do it. They have 2 days to do it. Number one, they can add it on the House side, or they can add it on the Senate side during the 2-day vote-a-rama. All right, let's go back to the dramatics that are happening today and what you should anticipate as a result of yesterday. Number one, somewhere during the day, we're going to see whether Nancy Pelosi calls a vote on the roads and bridges. If she calls a vote on the roads and bridges, I will cover it live on camera. In my prediction, unlike if today is like yesterday, which I believe it will be, Pelosi will not call the vote on the roads and bridges because she has chosen to show an imagery over the last 2 years over the last year this channel's been around, that the House Democrats are aligned, not maligned. And so she doesn't want to call a vote and have the roads and bridges fail, even though the message is very clear that she couldn't pass it because she didn't have the votes. When would she ever get the votes to pass the roads and bridges? Not anytime today, because you got to remember, over the last 4 days, the progressives have been very, very cautious. They've been very respectful, and they've been very reserved about the situation. The moderate Democrats, on the other hand, have name-called everyone. They name-called the progressives. They name-claimed their whole caucus. They've really come out with a lot of bad vibes. And this is on top of the moderate Democrats not keeping their promise about the debt ceiling limit, not keeping their promise that about the roads and bridges and the recon. And so by all accounts, I see no difference today as to yesterday that the progressives would suddenly say, yeah, I'm voting in favor of the roads and bridges. There's no reason that the progressives would vote in favor of the roads and bridges now, and I think they're more inclined to vote against it than even yesterday. Remember, Pelosi only has a 3 Democratic lead in the House. She can't lose 3 votes. She's losing 60 votes. It's far more than enough to kill the roads and bridges. Meantime, I would hope the president backs off from this strange messaging and this strange approach to the situation, which is trying to get people who have already passed a recon at $3.5 trillion in the recon procedural in the Senate, in the budget subcommittee of the House, to somehow think that they would agree to something other than what they've already done. There's no reason for it to be something other than exactly what it has been. The importance to understand is that the people who protect your recon are the progressives. The people who are protecting the recon are both House progressives and Senate progressives. Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, all yesterday saying vote down the roads and bridges. House progressives. Jalapal is the head of the Progressive Caucus in the House, saying, you know what? We're not only going to vote down the roads and bridges, we're not going to take verbal assurances about our recon. When we've really gone through the mat to protect our recon, it's going to be exactly like it is, like how we want it. And we're not going to take verbal assurances about something that is sort of, thinly veiled promises from a booth of moderate Democrats that haven't kept their promises this week about other things. Finally, the whole notion that some people would sort of informally agree to the roads and bridges because they have had verbal, informal deal offer about the recon is something that makes no sense whatsoever. And that's what Jalapal said last night. So far, Jalapal has been the voice of reason. Sanders has done exactly what you would say he'd do. And that is incredible, great news. Let's cut over to third stimulus for just a blink of an eye, and then back over to what's happening later today. Well, the incredible news about third stimulus is the following, is that money's landing in cities, counties, and states for rent, utilities, food, and internet mortgage assistance right now. And it's that additional $13 billion cash infusion for rent and utilities I want you to get. Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready because I'm going to go over all this big money for you right now. We can go over rent, utilities, and mortgage, which have and SNAP, which have now gone up 200, 300, and 400% in just a month. It was a month ago that the members of this channel were getting $20,000 for rent. Well, how much are they getting now? They're getting a lot more. Let's see how far the viewers of this channel have taken this in the last 30 days. 30 days ago, we were looking at numbers like this for rent, $20,000 to $27,000. Remember this graphic? Yeah, you do. That's where we were about 30 days ago. Now it's $40,000 for rent that viewers are getting like Jen. Last month, we were looking at numbers like this, where the utilities were at $5,000. Now Mark's brother-in-law got $15,000. You remember Mark's $51,000 mark? Yeah. His brother-in-law getting $15,000 for utilities, a 300% increase in just a month. Then when we talk about SNAP, it's gone from this to $21,000 for Mark's brother-in-law and others. So get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to go over all this big money you can get started right now. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility, different pots of money. If one says no, reach out to the other ones. Number 2, listen to the keywords I say in this video. Number 3, get ready for the nonprofits. They're featured as well in just a second. Here are the 6 places you reach out to for this money. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Let's go over those places again. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, State House Authority. If you're a member of this channel, which I hope you are, if you're not, the link's under the video, the newsletter, which goes out nightly, now features the Treasury statement about the $13 billion. Read that before you call for the rent so that you ask where it is. If they don't have it yet, say, can I be on the waiting list or can I call tomorrow? Then get money as often as you can for as many utilities as you have. So if you have 5 utilities, get money for all the utility companies. Finally, the nonprofits. Wow, what a success story. The nonprofits were the feature of this channel in fall 2020, early 2021, and now they're back and doing big sums of money. 2 separate viewers have gotten refrigerators for the nonprofits. One got a window and a furnace fixed. Then it's important to understand that people are now seeing immediate turnaround times for St. Vincent de Paul and rent and United Way for rent. Huge details. Here are the 5 nonprofits. United Way, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Community Action, St. Vincent de Paul. They are featured in the newsletter coming out every night for viewers from this channel, written by me for members. Now, what's important to understand is that the nonprofits pay for the same things that the third stimulus does, but with different eligibility, easier eligibility. Then they also pay for other new things, like sometimes clothing, sometimes small appliances, sometimes small repairs, and homeless people get into shelters. Here again, those 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Now that's October, also lean on Salvation Army. They're doing holiday toy givings away now. Don't wait till November. Do it now in October. All right, let's turn finally to some SNAP. SNAP raises your benefits. SNAP is getting raised up an average of 25% automatically now in October. This is huge. You're going to get 2 letters. You may have gotten the first letter that says your benefits are going down. There's a second letter that says your benefits are going up an average of 25% automatically, nationwide, everywhere, lifetime, starting in October. Then the unemployment benefits, 2 pots of money. The refund check from your state due to overpayment or computer error, yeah, it's landing anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Go get it. And then the refund check from IRS on the 2020 taxes you paid for unemployment benefits, yes, it's landing. It's about $1,000 to $2,000. You can do an irs.gov transcript search to look it up. Margaret got it, Cog got it, Michael got it. Finally, if you got any sums of money from this channel, post it in the live chat right now. You inspire other people when you do. And finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The member link is under the video. It comes out every night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, approximately Monday through Friday, via the YouTube alert system for members and the LALATE alert system for members. It details the big money in there for first, second, and third stimulus you can get. And that's how Lorraine, who was at $105,000, got some more money yesterday. She's heading to almost $110,000. That's how Mark got $51,000. His friends got $100,000. Joey, $80,000. His friends, $100,000. Jen, getting $40,000 of rent a few days ago. Consider becoming a member because that newsletter is very important. It now includes the nonprofits and also the Treasury statement and has everything set up for fourth and fifth stimulus when it becomes law as well. And finally, fifth stimulus starts in September, starts this fall, goes for a vote in about November, December, raises your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, applies new benchmark. It's inflation. Then, as inflation goes up, your benefits go up and never step down. It's going to remove the asset cap and remove the income cap as well. Well, let's go back over to what is happening throughout the day. The news cycle is going to change on the hour by the hour. And while you may think it's a Friday, they're getting ready for the weekend. They're going home to the casino. Untrue. In fact, the dramatics are expected to continue into Saturday and Sunday. We don't know if Pelosi will put them back into session on Saturday. She can. We'll know that from Steny Hoyer. Watch his Twitter feed. But for now, a potential looming vote on the roads and bridges is expected today as well. We're going to see if this vote does happen or if, again, it gets called off. We're going to be focusing on these negotiations the president's doing behind doors to try to push Bernie off of his $3.5 trillion number, push Kristen Sinema at a higher number, and sometimes push in the wrong places that don't need to be pushed. You have a recon. It's $3.5 trillion. We need to add stuff in there, not take things out of there. We need to ensure the American people that the recon passes in conjunction with the roads and bridges. That messaging was delivered as well by the House Democratic Caucus chair this week. He said it's important that both bodies of legislation pass at the same time. And he specifically said that they need to go over the finish line at the same time. Can he be wearing a purple shirt when he says that? And with that, join me next on Mornings Crypto, live on air, starting in just a few seconds after this video. And then we go into noontime, 11 a.m. I'll have the latest update on where we are today. It's going to change by the hour on the hour. Then back with you at 1 o'clock, then for Afternoons LA, 3 o'clock, a brand new Afternoons LA. And then the latest update tonight, we'll see if the voting has happened by then. If not, at 5 o'clock for Evenings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day. Keep it positive, keep it focused, and always keep on pushing. Don't stop advocacy here because we are not done until we're done. We're expected to see updates throughout the day, on the hour, from the hour. So rely upon watching each video as it happens. And have a beautiful one.